Hey, we're in my car today, driving around. We've got Kent Volkmer, the Pinal County attorney, with me. Kent, tell me a little about yourself.
So I am the county attorney here in Pinal County. As a lot of people know, our county is the size of the state of Connecticut. We've got about 500,000 residents, and I'm in charge of the felony prosecution for the entire county. And then we also prosecute all misdemeanors that occur outside of our local municipalities.
So there's a bunch of behind the scenes happened before we actually filmed this episode. Sam was going back and forth with the county attorney's office to make sure that all the cases we could talk about, we could legally talk about. Something I didn't know is because we're putting all of this out on the internet, the cases that we could talk about had to be 100% adjudicated. So the case had to start, go all the way through and end and be done with any sort of court, anything that had to do with the county attorney's office before we could talk about it. So they went, Sam gave them a whole bunch of cases that all ended up being criminal. And then the county attorney's office looked into those and they picked specific cases that had already gone through and were finished with the court system. And those are the ones specifically that we talked about.
Right. So all the cases, when I'm writing them into the justice court, they're handled by your attorneys.
They come to me, that's right.
We get a ton of questions, like in the comment bank from Fridays with Frank, about like, hey, what happened with this case? Or, hey, you arrested this guy for DUI, or you arrested this guy for, criminal speed, or what happened to that case? And you're the guy that has those answers.
I am, at least I should be.
So what do we have? I know a couple St. Patrick's Days ago, we had an episode. I arrested a kid in Casa Grande.
When was the last time you smoked any weed?
I don't smoke.
I don't know if that was the answer to the question I asked. And I don't feel like it was truthful.
I told him that his generation was doomed because I believe that at a cellular level.
Still today.
And I had no idea what happened to that case because it never went to trial. So I had no further contact with it, but your prosecutors took care of that case afterwards.
That is correct. The young man came in. Ultimately, he pled guilty to his offense, which was driving under the influence with a drug metabolite, an A3 violation. He was sentenced. He did 24 hours in jail. He was given 9 days suspended. His license was suspended, and he had a hefty, about a $2,000 fine just
Good.
there. That doesn't include the breathalyzer and all the other things that he now has to have in his vehicle and any legal fees, but he had to pay an additional $2,000 just to the county for that violation.
Okay, so he just pretty much went in and said, hey, yeah, I was high, and let's take care of this. I plead guilty and didn't, which is why I never saw it, because he didn't challenge it in court.
Come on, Frank, it's kind of hard. I mean, you were there, you saw the video. I mean, it was quite evident.
I love this.
Okay. And how long was that?
30 seconds.
30 seconds?
No,
Okay.
it
When I
wasn't.
tell you to, you're going to take your first step. 1, 2, 3. You're going to go all the way to 9. Once you reach your 9th step, once you plant your lead foot, take a set of small steps like this, and take your 9 steps back. 1, 2, 3, just like that. Okay? So you see where you're walking, keep your eyes down at your feet. Count your steps out loud so I can keep up with you. Just the way your arms are now, just comfortably, keep them down at your side. And then once you take the first step, don't stop until you've gone down, turn, and come back. Yep, that's it. Yep.
1, 2, 3.
3 steps.
Exactly what I told you to do. That's okay. That's okay.
1, 2, 3.
Back. Separate 3 steps.
Nope. That's,
I'm sorry, dude.
was there any part of that you didn't? Because I asked if you understood.
Just think about all the bad possibilities right now.
Okay. Well, that's what happens when you do illegal things, man. You do illegal things.
Well, it's not illegal because it's weed. It's not illegal.
Okay. How old are you?
19.
How old can you be to smoke marijuana without a medical marijuana card?
You're right. 21.
Right. So if you're gonna stand on the mountain of right and say, hey man, what I did is legal, then that's okay.
So yes, he took responsibility. I think the court had a little bit of mercy on him. The court could have given him more time, but I think ultimately he was held accountable.
When I'm in court testifying, whether it's for a DUI or something civil like a speeding or window tint or seatbelt, When I go and give testimony there, I'm dealing with Kent's employees, with deputy county attorneys. So about, on average, maybe once a year, sometimes maybe twice a year, I'll go to court, testify in front of a jury, so a jury trial for DUI. Or aggravated DUI, and then about monthly or so I go in and give some sort of testimony in the justice court for civil violations. So, hey, I didn't think I was speeding, or whatever it may be, whatever the infraction is that people want their day in court, and I'll go and give testimony for that. So, but I have very little contact with Kent directly, but I end up dealing with his employees much more frequently.
He was given the tools to hopefully be successful and hopefully never to make that choice again.
And that's the idea with the first offense DUIs, is to have some level of education in there to change that behavior and hope that it doesn't happen again, right?
It certainly is. I mean, look, you're on the roads every day. You know this as well as I do. Almost every fatal accident that we see in our community, there's some level of intoxication, whether it's prescription pills, recreational drugs, alcohol, but almost every single accident, one of the two, have something on board. So obviously we want no drinking, we want no driving impaired. But if people make a bad decision, we want to kind of give them some education, give them some immediate consequences, and hopefully we'll never see them again.
What led you to be the county attorney? What's your background lead you here?
So I was in a private practice for about a decade, about a little over 8 years ago. I thought I could really make a difference in our community. If I'm being really candid about it, one time I represented a grandfather, a father, and a son. All three of those suffered from substance abuse issues. Grandfather had spent the majority of his life in prison. Son had now spent the majority of his adult life in prison, and now they had a 16 or 17-year-old son and grandson who was going down that same path, was in the criminal justice system, and I was representing all three of them. And I asked the court, and I asked the state in particular, what are we going to do different for this kid so he doesn't end up where his father and his grandfather are? And their answer was, that's not really our problem, and it didn't sit well with me.
That's a terrible answer.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I mean, if you look at what our statutory obligation is, it's not to show mercy. It's to do justice. It's to hold people accountable. It's to prosecute the laws. But we have a lot of autonomy, a lot of power, and a lot of authority where we can make our community a better and safer place. And that's really been my mission. It's to separate dangerous people and make sure that we punish them, we put them in prison to keep all of us safe. And those that made dumb decisions, those that are at a low point in their life, to see what we can do to restore them, to give them a chance at actually being a productive member of our community.
So another case that we get a lot of questions on as to how it ended was a guy that I stopped because he was suspended while he was driving.
Do you have a valid driver's license?
Yeah, they told me what I got put over for, so.
Because you don't have a valid driver's license.
How do you know I don't have a valid driver's license?
Because you're the registered owner of this vehicle.
You have to get a supervisor out here because you're not telling me what you got me for.
No, because you are the registered owner of this vehicle and you do not have a valid driver's license.
You know, call your supervisor first, because.
So yeah, so we don't.
You didn't pull me over just to take my name?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I did.
And then didn't want to get out of his car and all of that stuff.
If you don't get out of the car, I'm going to remove you. And when I remove you, I'm going to put my hands on you in a manner that is much more aggressive than the conversation that we're having right now. Okay, are you going to get out? Get out. Out. Come on, get out. Out you come.
Right, you guys are living apart? That's it.
So this is what we're going to do.
Forward.
Hand behind his back. There we go. See? Just like that. See? Very simple. See how easy that was? So right now, like I said, you're under arrest for driving on a suspended license.
And so I ended up arresting him. Thought he was high at the time. When I contacted him, I think I found some drug paraphernalia in his car. And I know that I ended up doing a blood draw and sent those charges in for ag DUI. Whatever happened with that?
So, you know this, a lot of people when they get pulled over, they are the smartest attorney and the most knowledgeable of the law of anybody in our community. If you don't believe them, just ask them because they'll tell you. But once he had an actual attorney appointed to him, and they sort of explained that no, you did have the right to lawfully stop him. You followed everything by the book. It was a legitimate stop, and he was under the influence. He pled. He acknowledged that he was under the influence of methamphetamine. He again pled to an A3 violation, spent a day in jail, Was put on probation, received a fine, and had his license suspended.
More more suspended.
Correct.
I should take turns in the road then.
Yep, absolutely. Or you could just very simply stay out of Pinal County.
There were all sorts of comments about, that I didn't have the right to stop him, and, because I had run his license plate. And it has always been my understanding that none of the information contained within the license plate is private. That is property, more or less property of the state. Am I interpreting that right?
Yes, it's a privilege to be able to drive. So the reality is you are exercising a privilege to drive on our roads, and we have certain restrictions. That you have to have a valid license plate. You have to have a valid driver's license as well. So yes, you are certainly within your rights as a law enforcement officer to run plates, to look at different things that catch your attention to see. And then in this case, obviously, you ran the plate. You saw that the owner had a suspended license. It looked like it was him, so you initiated a stop, all completely above board.
I haven't had to testify in all the cases that I submit to your office because, like you said, some people just take pleas. But recently I did testify to a case in Central Pinal Justice Court, and that ended up with a conviction after I gave testimony.
Absolutely. This was the case, and you remember it well. I'm hoping your viewers do as well. If you haven't, I'd encourage you to go back and look at it. This was the gentleman who took the sticker off of his motorcycle, and he actually placed it on his pickup truck's license plate to show that it was a valid license plate.
Where did the sticker that's on your license plate come from?
From my motorcycle. I have a Harley.
Oh. Okay. I'll be back. Can you take that, turn your truck off for me, please? Thanks. Because I don't want you backing up over me when I remove your plate.
Why are you removing my plate?
Because it's a fictitious registration. That tab does not belong on this plate.
Well, just take
it.
You can take the tab. My love and not.
We'll see. We talk about this one case with the fictitious registration because it's the only case that we could find that was a criminal case that started on Fridays with Frank, that Sam had video of the initial stop that actually went to trial. It happens incredibly infrequently, and this was the only case out of all the cases and all the citations that I've written, having Sam in my passenger seat. This is the only case that actually went to a trial in front of a judge. So that's why we spoke about it specifically, as it's the only one we could find. We've had a couple civil ones that have gone, and the judge wouldn't allow Sam to video in the courtroom. So that's the judge. The judge has that right to say, nah, I don't want video in my courtroom, and they exercise that right. So I think we've had one case that went to trial for a civil speeding, and then that one criminal case are the only two that I could think of out of all the citations that Sam and I have written together. So it doesn't happen very often.
Officer, the plate is registered to the car.
That is correct, but the tabs on the plate are fictitious. And being it fictitious makes it a criminal offense.
No,
and the fact that it's...
I have my old register. That's not fictitious. What are you talking about? That tag is registered to this car. To this truck.
The plate is.
The plate is. That's what I'm saying. So you can take the tag, but not, the sticker, but not the plate.
Well, this entire thing is evidence.
Ultimately, he did not take responsibility for his actions. He exercised his constitutional right to go to trial. We went to trial. We called you as a witness, and ultimately the court convicted the gentleman of driving with a fictitious plate.
So I think he was found responsible for both the criminal speed violation, which was my initial reason for stop, and then the knowingly displaying fictitious registrations. I think both of those are misdemeanors. And
that's absolutely correct. He was convicted for going in excess of 20 over the posted speed limit in addition to the fictitious plate. But yeah, you testified. There were absolutely no issues.
During this video, I didn't make a single traffic stop. And something else that I found out that I learned from having Kent in my passenger seat is any stop that we would have conducted, if it would have went to court, Kent would have had to send it to another county because he would have been directly involved with it. So we didn't want to burden Maricopa County by having to send, civil and/or criminal cases to Maricopa County and burden their caseload. So Kent and I just drove around and talked.
You went through, explained what you saw, why you stopped him, what you did, the interaction you had with him. Ultimately, the court weighed the evidence there and found beyond a reasonable doubt that, in fact, the gentleman did, in fact, exceed the speed limit and was driving with a fictitious plate.